What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt post-game report. The Panthers have just secured their first ACC win of the 2023-24 season. They knocked off the Louisville Cardinals by a final score of 83-70. It was a much-needed victory for the Panthers. They took care of business against a team that they are decidedly better than. I think that is pretty clear, but it was a win that they needed desperately. Like I said, this was a team that looked like, I don't know if not ready to hang with the big boys is really the right word because, they've been competitive against teams like Clemson and Syracuse and UNC, of course, but you couldn't get over the hump, couldn't finish these games off, just looked like they were a little too young to handle some of the more veteran teams in this conference, some teams with some experience, some teams that were talented. It looked like they were, on the verge of maybe dropping into that basement of the ACC again, and at the very least, you can be comfortable knowing that even though this game was maybe a little closer for a little longer than made a lot of people comfortable, that they were in control for most of the time, that they played better. The quality of their play was better. They weren't just kind of beating up on a lesser opponent. They executed and earned that win. So, lots of encouraging things all around. Even understanding the level of competition, I think you can have an appreciation for the fact that they just got on the board in the ACC, that they did it, I think a lot of these young guys who are hitting ACC play for the first time, these young stars. I mean, think about, Carrington and Lowe, guys who are, and even, Zach Austin and Ish Leggett, guys who just haven't played at this level for very long before. These are guys who are, hitting ACC play for the first time. They are learning what it takes to win in this league. And to notch one, to get that experience of winning, it's kind of just as important as taking your licks and understanding, how easy it is to lose in this league. Understanding how hard it is to win is just as important as learning how easy it might be to lose, to drop games. So a big win for the Panthers, even knowing kind of who they were up against and who they were facing, and how how much Louisville has struggled, not just this year but over the past 2 years. This is still a big occasion and something we're celebrating for them. The story of the game, again, it's the second game that we've talked about him, probably the third game in a row that we've talked about him, but Jalen Lowe just continues to really step up and make a huge impact. He's averaging north of 9 points per game. He's shooting north of 40% from three over his past 3 games. He's rebounding, he's passing, he's not turning the ball over. He's defending, he's holding his own defensively, and those shooting numbers are coming way up today. 9 points on, I believe, 3 of 6 shooting. He made 2 threes. Excuse me, I'm looking over at my notes. But with 6 rebounds as well, 3 assists, and only 1 turnover in 27 minutes of action. It was his first start with Ish Leggett sidelined. We'll talk about Leggett in a second. He had an injury that we'll get to and break down a little bit, but yeah, in a spot start, Jalen Lowe was really, really good. He was a plus 18 on the court. The Panthers got outscored when he was off the court. He was the only Panthers player who, when he sat, the Panthers got outscored. He was just a steadying force. I think he took a lot of pressure off of Bub Carrington, who has started to play really well as of late, kind of, simultaneously as I think Lowe is being trusted with more kind of command of the offense, which I've seen, over the past 3 games, I'll say, and probably a little bit longer, just as he, improves and gets more comfortable. Yeah, Carrington's benefiting from it too. I think it takes some pressure off of him, not just to score, but to play make, to kind of be the guy. You have another playmaker out there. Lowe's just doing a lot of really good things, and he's stabilizing things for an offense that really needed it. He's providing some shot making, some playmaking. He plays with good pace, but he also understands pace. He knows when not to rush versus when to really push it. And he's just been such a blessing, especially with Leggett out, like I said, and Leggett also, struggling over the past few games to find his shot. Part of that might be injury related, but who's to really say? But Lowe has stepped up in a big way, and I think, is possibly earning his way into a regular starting lineup job. Even when Leggett comes back, that could be against Duke, that could be later. We're not really sure yet, but I think Lowe's played well enough to be a starter, and I think honestly, even if you have Leggett back in the mix there, I think a 3-guard lineup is really interesting. And I think it's different from how the Panthers have played for most of the season. They've really relied on their size to dominate the glass, and I use that to maybe cover for some long, shooting slumps. They play better defense when they're really long like that. But with the offense kind of sputtering the way that it has over the past week, 2 weeks, whatever you want to say, I think having a guy like Lowe, a really offensive minded guy like Lowe, is really crucial. Whether he starts or it doesn't really matter, but he needs to be on the floor for 25 or more minutes, I think, per night. I think he's earned that not only, but I think it's also in the best interest of the team for him to get that kind of a workload and get that heavy usage, take the ball out of Carrington's hands a little bit, let him play off the ball, take a little bit of pressure off of him to maybe let him score a little bit more. And I just feel like that's a really good use of everyone's talents. And I think it also takes some pressure off of, Ishla. It takes pressure off of everyone. And I think Lowe is kind of better suited than maybe anyone else on this team to play, a two-man game with the big man, pick and roll, things like that. So I kind of expect there to be some changes, if not to the starting lineup, including Lowe, to then some changes to kind of the rotation as a whole and maybe the closing lineup. I think, for as well as Zach Austin played today, season high 20 points, 7 of 13 from the field. I think he might be the odd man out there, and I think he's a guy that the Panthers might think about moving to the bench, where he's shown that he can play really well in that role. And just going a little bit smaller with their starters or with their, kind of most pivotal lineups or the lineups that they used in the most pivotal moments. Another, really notable thing I thought was the Panthers were nearly perfect from the free throw line. It's the first time they've shot north of 90% from the free throw line since last year. It's been a notorious struggle for the Panthers this year, but they really broke out of a slump in a big way. Just kind of saw the work that they, say they put in practice really come to fruition. And this was kind of what helped them keep their distance. I think there have been plenty of times where either Pitt has let a game get closer than it needed to be, or they haven't been able to make a game as close as uh, it could have been, or that they weren't able to mount a comeback because when their shots weren't falling, they weren't able to. They were able to get to the free throw line, but not able to convert. And so I think that's part of why the offenses look so poor, in recent weeks. It's just part of I think the Panthers are mostly doing the right things, kind of largely kind of 30,000-foot view, but part of those right things is when shots aren't falling, you got to drive to the bucket and get free throws, and if you're not making them, that's kind of a moot point. But 19 to 21 today, can't complain about all that. I believe they made their first 19. Yeah, I think that's correct. I think they made 19 and maybe missed their last two, but really impressive showing there and a good sign that they can kind of, take a step forward and have some better weapons to pull them out of shooting slumps than they did before. And like I referenced, Zach Austin was awesome today. Hit big shot after big shot, 20 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 4 threes, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Blocked a ton of shots as well. I think he's been much better as kind of a rover, a roamer, a free safety, kind of in the middle of Pitt's defense. While guys are getting posted up, he's kind of lurking and just always looking for those opportunities to get loud blocks because he's a great athlete and he can block a ton of shots. And I think he's understanding the timing of those better and like kind of the discipline of when it's appropriate to take those kind of risks and when it's okay to kind of go for those blocks, because when he does, you're leaving someone open. You're leaving a rebounder open. You're leaving a cutter open. And so if he comes out of position, it's important for him to connect on those attempts at blocks. And he's been connecting on them, but he's also, I think, being more judicious with, those risks and when he take those risks. And that's, also just kind of helped him really, be a better defender, be a more complete player. And then obviously the shooting that, Jeff Capel says has always kind of been there, just not in games, really showed up. And like I said, his shot making was not just plentiful, but I think it was clutch. And I think he really helped the Panthers keep their distance on Louisville when things were maybe a little bit tighter, and then obviously pull away in the second half. Another guy who played really well, Blake Hinson, leading scorer, and they needed that in a bad way. We've talked a lot about over the past couple weeks about how much Hinson struggled shooting the ball. And, if you ask Jeff Capel about it, it's kind of something you got to live with a guy like him. I mean, he's a shooter. Shooters miss sometimes. But his best attribute is being aggressive, and he's got to shoot. He's got to score if Pitt's going to win, and he did that today. 21 points, 3 of 9 from beyond the 3-point line, 8 of 8 from the line, 3 rebounds. But I think the scoring was really the biggest part of what he did, and flashed a little bit of kind of that new skill set that we've talked about, just understanding when he needs to drive to the basket, showing off a little bit of a better handle, having a mid-range game, driving to the hoop, being smarter about his drives to the hoop a little bit. All of that stuff was on full display today. I say 9 threes, but he had a couple of drives that were really nice too, and he got fouled as well and just took advantage of that. And it was really, I felt like, a complete offensive effort for Blake today. And then you asked Jeff Capel, and he was a much better leader, or he has been a better leader recently. I think during his struggles, at least according to Jeff Capel, he was saying, that Blake felt like he was letting the team down. I think he feels the weight of responsibility of leading this team. And when you're struggling, that's when the pressure kind of mounts and gets the highest. And, what Jeff Capel wanted him to do, I think, was kind of give him the latitude to say, you can still be a leader even when you're struggling. That's why you're here. You can't let kind of your shots, how many shots you're making kind of impact how you feel about the game or how you play the game or just what you think about yourself. And I think Blake really took that to heart and, played with a lot of energy today. And then, maybe it's a chicken and egg thing, whether his focus or his energy kind of translated into shot making. But, for right now, we can pretend that the fact that he was more confident in leading led to some shots going in. It's just a couple more, kind of more notes type things. William Jeffress, his minutes have been kind of declining over the past few games, which has been a little odd to me. Jeff Capel said he just needs to play better. Just needs a little bit more out of Jeffress. I mean, I thought Jeffress has been pretty good. I don't think he's gotten a ton of opportunities to prove that, that he can play better, to prove himself on the court. He just hasn't, played very much. I think he played only 7 minutes today, and a lot of it was in mop-up duty. I don't know. I just felt like, especially in the first half, when Panthers were really struggling to defend, Louisville shot better than 50% from the field and 47% from 3-point range. They were a little ridiculous shooting the ball. But when Mike James was going off, shooting from 3, I thought that would have been a perfect time to send Will in there and just let him do what Will does, be the kind of high-level defender, the great rebounder. Because that was the other thing. I didn't think Pitt dominated the glass like they should have, against against a team like Louisville that was so undermanned in their front court and just so undersized. I thought it was interesting that just Jefferson see those kind of minutes, didn't see that time. I think he's a valuable player, kind of whether or not the shot's going in, and I just didn't notice kind of a decline in energy or rebounding or defense. So just interesting for Capel to say that, something to monitor. And I think it's, it just is something to monitor because Jeffress has been such a key piece moving through this season, and it's kind of fallen out of the rotation as of late. And we'll close with an update on Ish Leggett. The update is kind of there's not much of an update. So played through some shoulder pain against UNC, suffered a shoulder injury against Syracuse, but it was kind of questionable for that Carolina game. Played through it and didn't really play very well. Jeff Capel seemed to think that the shoulder injury, and I believe it was on his right shoulder, which would be his shooting arm, kind of affected, how he was able to shoot and how he was able to play. No update for the Duke game on Tuesday. They're not really sure if he'll be able to go, but obviously they'll leave the light on for him and just see what he's able to do in practice over the next few days as they get ready for it. But a big loss. He had been struggling, but it's a guy that I think is going to be able to figure it out. And so keeping him off the floor, doesn't really allow him to figure it out. And you just lose an important piece of your backcourt, some veteran leadership, and obviously a scoring punch. He's the team's leading rebounder, their best guard defender as well. So big loss. Panthers could really use him against Duke, but we'll see how he's feeling. We'll see how that progresses through the week and what comes out on Tuesday when the Panthers host Duke at the Peterson Event Center, looking to start a winning streak, get a big upset win, their kind of first marquee win of the season, and pull themselves out of that basement of the ACC. So we'll see what happens. Lots to monitor as we move forward into next week, and the Panthers get ready for a big game against Duke at the Peterson Event Center. I hope to see you there. Until then, I appreciate you all tuning in to another Inside Pitt post-game report. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers, and follow all our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com. Like I said, appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll talk to you.